You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. If you'd like to start making a little bit of extra money without seeing more clients, then passive income could absolutely be an option for you. And today I want to talk with you about something that I do that creates passive income for me most weeks. And, it sounds like, oh, it's not much money, but every little drop in the bucket helps. So welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today I want to talk with you about digital products. So digital products are things like your worksheets, PDFs, journals, and things like that. Now, I know some of you already have digital products available on your website and they're not selling. And so you might be thinking, oh, this doesn't work, I've tried it. So I want to unpack a little bit about what makes something sell so that you can understand perhaps what to do, what to change so that you can get your things moving again. I also want to say, if you have set up your digital products and they're not selling, it's just data, okay? It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean anything like that. It probably simply is you just weren't aware of all the nuances and intricacies that go into creating something and then actually being able to sell it. So I want to talk you through some of that today as well. It's going to be very practical, and you will leave the episode hopefully with a better understanding of how to approach creating digital products. Okay. So I guess I just want to dive in and say, I had a look at some digital products before I recorded this website, because during the week I was working with some people who were selling, as I said, like worksheets and PDFs and things like that on their websites. So they were saying to me they wanted more money, and I said to them, what are you doing at the moment? They said, I've got some one-to-one sessions, but I also sell things online. And I asked them how much money they make, and they said nothing. They don't actually make anything. They're pretty upset about it because they don't understand why. And when I went and had a look, I could see straight away why. There wasn't any sort of selling going on around the digital product, meaning there wasn't an image of it, there wasn't multiple images of it, there wasn't really a detailed description of it. It was just kind of like one or two sentences, and then it said it was going to be like $33 or something. And then you kind of got to like click to go to Stripe and pay for it. There wasn't any testimonials for it. There weren't any reviews for it. There wasn't any context around it. And a lot of the time it just seemed really incongruent and quite random about why they were selling this thing, because it was outside of their niche, right? So the content that they were selling by and large tended to be quite sort of surface level and very, very generic. And a lot of the time, no offense, but a lot of the time just poorly designed. And by that, I mean, when I did go and buy their products and I downloaded them, the whole process was very clunky for me as the buyer. And when I got the thing, it was really low quality. For example, I'm talking about from a design perspective, not using their branding. They, for some reason, had just gone off and used other people's branding. I don't know why. There was text on documents that went edge to edge on the page, so no margins. There was a number of things that I purchased during the week from therapists that when I got it, the actual content was all centered, and I don't understand that. And there were like, maybe 5, 6, 7 fonts on the page and a lot of bold, and then on top of that, there was also, just had to let Buddy out. There was also, clip art and things like that. And it just looked really bad and nothing matched, nothing was lining up. So the formatting was a real issue. And then for people who had created these things, a lot of the time, if I wanted to use it as the client, it meant that I had to print it off, which was problematic because, for me anyway, I've just moved house. I don't know where my color cartridges are. Would I want to use my color cartridge? Probably not, So then it all just got too hard and I didn't end up using them. It was as if the people who made the products didn't actually test them themselves first. And two, the content wasn't useful. So by that, one of the things that I downloaded included journal prompts, but the journal prompts didn't take me anywhere, right? It was just more like list all the reasons you feel bad about something, list all the ways you want to feel about something. And it was like nothing kind of shifted any needle. It was all very surface level stuff. It was all stuff that was in my awareness, and I didn't feel better after I did those journal prompts because they didn't resolve anything for me, right? And also, you know what I'm going to say, not all, but a lot of it felt like it was ChatGPT, which really irked me. It really, really, really bothered me so much because these women are health professionals. So I thought that I was buying information from a health professional based on her experience, her knowledge. But what I got was written by ChatGPT. And then I felt like I'd been scammed, like I'd been ripped off. So that was my experience. And am I going to go back there as a potential client and buy more of their stuff? No. Am I going to recommend it to anybody if I was a client? No. Would I ask for a refund? Probably. I wouldn't really. I'm not the sort of person who would ask for refunds. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just putting myself here in the mind of a potential client that might want to download something or use something. Now, as somebody who has made tens of thousands of dollars selling things passively, including workbooks and worksheets and PDFs and stuff like that, I'm going to tell you exactly what I do that gets sales for me when I remember to do things. But I had a look before I recorded this episode, right back to when I first started selling digital products, right up to now, selling them passively. And I found the threads, the through lines, and identified the things that sold best, and then was able to look at why they sold really, 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 really well and continue to sell well years later, even with AI being available. The things that sell best are the things that are tools. So tools work better than things like an ebook because they're practical and they're going to get somebody a result. A tool is something that is hands-on, they can use it and they can get an outcome pretty quickly. Ideally, we want somebody to be able to use the digital product within about 10 minutes and get an outcome. That's what the goalposts sort of are. Now, it's going to depend on what digital product you're creating, but for things like journals and workbooks and worksheets and things like that, we're looking for a quick shift. Okay, so the products of mine that sold the best were always the ones that were tools over information alone. Okay, they extend the work that you're doing with your clients in session. Think about it that way. So it's just like, imagine that you want to do something in session 3 with a client and you're thinking, if I don't get around to doing it, I want them to be able to do it like this little bit over here before our next appointment. That's what I mean. Treat your PDFs and worksheets and workbooks and things like that as extensions of the work that you're doing with a client in session, okay? And also, you want to have this tool for them reinforce something that they're learning with you, right? They're acquiring a skill. Maybe the skill is learning how to be assertive and speak up for themselves. Maybe a skill is that they're learning how to people please a little bit less or put themselves first, prioritize themselves, okay? So giving them something that's going to be a useful tool, that's practical, that supports them in being able to apply and practice this newly acquired information, skill, education that you've given them is going to be super duper valuable. And then the third type of digital product that works really, really well is one that helps your clients. It's a tool that helps them to maybe track or monitor the progress that they're making with something. Okay. Now you could use this for EAP, you could use it for trauma, you could use it for pretty much anything. But we want to just give them something so that they can see that they're moving forward. Because I don't know about you, but if you've ever had therapy, sometimes you feel like you're going around in circles and you're not making any progress. In fact, it happens with some of the women that I help with their businesses, especially when they're first starting their business, right? And they aren't really expecting how heavy it's going to be in terms of doing the marketing. They think that the website and their Psychology Today and their Google business is going to do all the marketing for them. And then they get frustrated that they've actually got to be doing more to drive traffic over and things like that. And so they feel like they're stagnant, or they feel like they're treading water, that they're doing all of this other stuff over here, but they really need a client in the diary now. And the things that they've been doing just aren't working. And they know that they're not working because they don't have a new client yet. So I know, because I'm their coach, that what they're doing is working. And so for me, with some of those clients, it's going to be really helpful for them to be able for themselves to track their progress, whether that is a checklist where they can tick off the things that they've been doing, whether it is a tracker that they can use to track the amount of time people are spending on the website, the number of pages people are visiting on the website, the number of email inquiries they're getting from their Psychology Today, right? All of those things. Because I know with my clients, sometimes they focus on it's only like the only metric that they're concerned with is, did I get a booking or an inquiry this week? And so when it's taking time for that to happen, because they're still building their audience, they get the idea that they're just going to change the website back to how it used to be. Or they get the idea that they're just going to stop doing this thing over here. I'm just going to stop blogging. It's not working. I've put up 3. It's not working. I'm going to get rid of my blogs. I'm going to do something else. And so they chop, change, chop, change, chop, change. And each time they do, it resets everything for them. And now we're back to having to wait another 90 days. And it's because they don't see the progress that's happening in order for the client to become a client. That client needs to first become aware. So that's why we would say, go and track your Google Analytics and see what your traffic is like. Once the client's aware, they need to be interested. Let's see how long somebody's stayed on the page. Then they need to show that they have a genuine desire to take an action, to do something. Great. What are they downloading? What are they clicking on? All those kinds of things. So if my clients in business are only focusing on the end result, that's a problem for them, and they will feel like nothing's working. So by giving them a tracker that lets them record things, they can see clients are on the way. They can see, things really are starting to work. Okay. And that is very, 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 very valuable, because then it gets them out of a tailspin. It stops them feeling scattered, and now they see that it's working and they know, okay, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And eventually somebody will take that last step and book the appointment. So it can be very calming, very reassuring, build confidence, all those kinds of things. So yeah, that's kind of the third tool that you can use that would be very, very helpful and valuable and sell. And because it builds on what you're already doing with your clients, it is very, very useful. Basically, the products that will sell the very best are the ones that are the most concrete, meaning they're very, very practical, and they are problem specific. Okay. The more practical it is, the more problem specific it is, the more valuable it is to the client, and the more they appreciate it. And they're going to buy it, and they're going to use it, and they're going to talk to you about how they went with it. And then they're going to buy the thing for the next session if you have them sort of session by session, or, if you've just got a little shop front page on your website, they will go and buy more things. Looking at other people's, I can clearly see the ones that didn't perform very, very well. For me, I can see the ones that didn't perform very well were when I used other people's templates and I didn't tweak them, refine them, update them enough. And so because of that, a couple of things happened. When somebody was looking for the thing, they found mine amongst a sea of very similar ones, and my one didn't stand out. And because they were all so similar, people generally, just purchased the cheapest one, and mine wasn't the cheapest one. So those products of mine, they didn't take as long for me to create. They were fun to create in Canva and things like that, made a few little tweaks here and there. But I, at the time, trusted that the template itself was enough, and it was the minimal tweaking what done me in, okay? By keeping a template as a template, it's by its nature going to be generic, vague, and very surface level. It can't be anything else, because in order for it to be valuable and useful for a client, it needs to have your thoughts, your insight, your wisdom, your experience infused through it. Okay. And even if I'm making you a template, if I make you a template of a workbook, and I say, hey, I've made this template of workbook. Here you go and rebrand it, sell it as your own and things like that. You could, but it probably won't sell well. What would sell better is if you use the template as a base and you said, oh, okay, this is how it should be formatted. These are the types of questions to ask. How could I make this more relevant to my audience? So to my clients, right? How could I infuse my beliefs about grief, loss, and trauma, or ADHD, or relationships? And what would that look like, right? How would I change these journal prompts, for example? What would the habit tracker look like? Would I still have a thing in here about mindful breathing or box breathing? Or would I put something that was more specific and useful based on my opinion, what I do, the way I work, right? So it's really around tailoring. Anything that is not helpful, as I said, the surface level stuff, the stuff that's very generic, if they can get it on Instagram or they can get it on GPT just by typing in how to overcome anxiety, that's not valuable and it's not helpful. They can go and get it free off ChatGPT. What makes something useful and valuable and helpful is having your thoughts woven throughout it, okay? The other thing that isn't selling is long ebooks. Nobody's really interested in an ebook these days. They tend to be quite generic. So again, not useful, not valuable. The other thing is people are wanting fast results, quicker fixes. They want to do less but still see some kind of improvement. And the other thing that doesn't really work so well is very generic, watered down, vague, content that's kind of like self-helpy. And I understand why this happens, because it happened to me too when I was first creating digital products. And I heard this advice. I was like, yeah, I get it, but I'm not going to, because I've got a PhD and 30 years experience, and I worked so hard for all of that. And I'm going to keep all my special knowledge behind a paywall, and I will give people that knowledge once they become a client. Then I will share all this abundance of wisdom that I've got, right? Wrong. It didn't work. What worked, because it didn't work because it wasn't useful or valuable or practical or get my client a result when I reverted to just putting generic stuff out. When I changed that, and I started sharing things that were useful and going to get a result and things like that, guess what? People will buy the thing, but then they'd come back and shop around and they buy a couple of other things. And then they come back a little while later and buy a couple of other things. And then I would get an email from someone saying, oh, my friend, I was at the ACA chapter meeting last week, and a colleague there said she got this from you and I can't find it. Where can I get it? And so then start getting emails from people asking where can they buy certain digital products of mine, stuff like that. So learn from my lessons, because I don't believe in mistakes, but learn from my lessons, and you will be able to get your own results and start making money in your own business more quickly. Okay. So we don't want to have underperforming content. So how do you create products that will sell to your ideal clients? Well, in terms of creating the product, I think, and again, I'm so guilty of this myself, because you have so much knowledge about something, you want to kind of cram it all into a resource. And that's a very normal thing to want to do. However, it ends up usually backfiring because either you do too much, as I'm guilty of doing, and then people get overwhelmed by it, right? You know that they need to know all of this stuff. They don't know that they need to know all of that stuff. And you give it to them because you're being helpful, but they're receiving it and they're like, oh my gosh, I just wanted to, or in my case, learn how to get a client. So just take that problem and look at all the reasons why that problem exists, and start with the most common reasons why that problem exists and solve it with a digital product. Okay. You're just solving one part of the problem. Now you might be thinking, but if I go and do that, then people will just solve their problems with my digital products and I'll never get a client. That's not true. There's so much evidence that I've got myself and that you can find from other people as well. And maybe it's even been your own experience where you've purchased something from somebody and you really liked it, and then you wanted more. So then you went and did their course. And then after you did your course, you were like, oh, I wonder if I can work with that person. And then you reached out and maybe you booked a discovery call or something like that. So don't think that you're going to miss out on clients. You're not going to miss out on clients. This builds a client base. It does the opposite. Okay. You're not giving away all of your secrets. People pay for implementation. You know, with this podcast, I say everything, but you might be thinking, well, then, you know, if you're giving us all of the information on this podcast, why would we work with you? I'll tell you why. It's because of all the people that listen to the podcast. For every 100 people that listen, maybe one or two might go and implement one or two things from an episode. The implementation generally doesn't happen, and that's what people are needing support with. And maybe if they feel like they listen to something on my podcast and they're like, oh, okay, great. I know now what to do to create a high selling digital product. Brooklyn said it's got to solve a problem. She said it needs to be consumed within 10 minutes. She said it needs to be a tool, right? Not just something that they read and do nothing with. It's got to be a tool that it should ideally extend what's happening in therapy for clients who are in therapy, or reinforce a newly learned skill, or track or monitor progress, or something like that. So I'm pretty good to go. There'll be a couple of people that feel like they're good to go, and they will go and they will implement and they will have something up on their website by the end of next week and they'll make a sale. But most of the time people don't. Then there's going to be other people who have a go, but they're wondering, are they right? Is it good enough? Have they done all of the things? Can they be sure that it will sell? Like, what's the next step now they've actually made it? And so they're going to want implementation support, right? And it's the same with you and your clients. So don't feel like you're doing yourself out of work by putting, you know, simple solutions into your digital products. You're not, okay? The other thing about a winning digital product is it should be doable. And this means we want to make sure that it's presented in a way that feels doable, feels achievable, that a client can understand. So if you're going to be using language like EMDR, for example, that's a term we use in the therapy community, but your client might not have any idea what that is or why it's relevant to them. So you want to explain things, okay? So just make sure you're making it very, very accessible so that everybody understands why you're including it, what it means, we're all on the same page. And they believe when they read it, they feel inspired and they feel like they can take action and they want to go and take the action, okay? Another way to create a winning client product for your passive income is to create something that's going to match One of the problems that you're hearing your clients talk about a lot. Now, this will work for you if you're seeing clients. If you're not, think about what was coming up when you're on placement, or if that's not an option for you, go into the spaces and places where your ideal clients are and start tuning in and listening to what are the common questions that they're all asking and make a solution for that. Okay. Another idea that can be really helpful and again super easy is to just, when you're seeing clients and you're in a niche, you know how sometimes it can feel like Groundhog Day. You go through these periods, don't you, where it feels like you're giving the same piece of guidance to just about everybody that's booked an appointment that week. You wish you had $1 for every time you'd said this thing. So that becomes the opportunity for you to create a digital product around that, and you know it's going to sell because it's needed. Okay, so start thinking about that, and for yourself, think about how could you track this. Okay, so maybe you make a note for yourself when it comes up again. Oh, okay, this thing. The best-selling products for your website, or if you're going to put it on Etsy or Thrivecart or Gumroad or wherever you're going to sell it, generally aren't content-based. They're more practical, useful resources that really genuinely help your clients to either do something, reflect on something, and have a breakthrough, right? So not just reflecting on what their symptoms are and how bad they feel and how they'd rather feel. We want them to have a reflection that leads to insights that then they say, oh, right. Okay. Like, for example, if I was going to do some journal prompts for a client, and let's say it's a client who wants help with her practice and her marketing, and she's doing the things that we're working on, but she's feeling like nothing's working because she doesn't have the client yet. This, just taking this hypothetical from before, she doesn't have the clients yet. Then, I might create a 1-page worksheet that's got 3 or 4 reflections on it. And maybe those reflections are, on what is she basing success? And how might that be restricting her ability to see the real progress, the genuine progress? Or what are some of the other signs of progress that she's perhaps not yet considered or not yet been looking at? And how does it feel in her body when she's focusing on this metric over here as being the indicator of this is working or no, it's not? Does her body feel tight, constricted, restricted, limited, versus other things, right? So I want to give her some questions that will stop her from saying, I want another strategy, I need another plan, I need the next thing, I need the next thing, I want to get her off that hamster wheel because it's not going anywhere. Like, she could do as many things as she wanted to, but it's not going to change the fact that the client is going to take as long as the client takes to go through her pipeline, and we know that the pipeline is working. So I want to help her shift her awareness around what's working, what the progress is, how she's defining things, the meaning she's attributing things versus other meanings and things like that, so that she comes away from that worksheet feeling grounded, feeling at ease, feeling like something's been lifted. That's what I mean. So no vague generic journal prompts. No, yeah. The other things that work really well are tools that help clients, as I said, practice or rehearse a belief or a skill, a behavior, a therapeutic approach, like maybe it is breathing, maybe it is mindful walking, things like that. Those kinds of things can work really, really helpful, really, really well because they're helpful. Basically, if it's not clinically relevant, it's not going to sell. The other thing that can help your products sell is, like, when you're creating your products, think about them in terms of a broader product ladder. So usually, you know how you would have maybe 3 to 5 freebies on your website. Well, for each of those, you want to have a bit of a ladder. So it could look like you've got a free thing here and it's really high value, right? Somebody loves it. They get a result from it. They love it. They're back for more. And the next step is to pay for, perhaps it's the worksheet, okay? Or maybe it's the, I don't know, mini workbook or something like that. They're going to pay you for that and they're going to love that. And they're going to say, oh my gosh, everything she's got is so good. What else has she got? And then they're going to come and see that you have the third thing on your ladder, which could be a bundle, okay? People love a bundle. So again, it's got to be relevant to the free thing, to the paid thing, right, that they purchased beforehand. Now they're going to come get the bundle, which feels like a show bag, right? It's got some really great things in it. It feels really, really high value. To them, it feels like it might be $200 or $300 of value, but they're only going to pay you, $50 for it. So it gives them the feeling of getting a great bargain. Like they can't believe how lucky they are to be able to get this thing. And then from there, they use the bundle or some of the bundle and they really like that. And then they're going to go on and do the next thing, which could be maybe it's a mini course. Yeah. We're talking about digital passive income here, right? So that's what it could look like. Now, ideally, it'd be great to have a little ladder for each of your free things, but you don't have to. I mean, what you could do is maybe you've got 3 things that are all related, right? And they could be free. So you've got 3 free things that are all kind of related to each other. And maybe each of those 3 things leads to the same ladder, okay? Maybe it's just you've got 3 things on the first rung. And then each of those 3 things leads to rung number 2. And then rung number 3, then rung number 4. So have a little ladder for yourself, because if people like what you're putting out, they come back and they want the next thing. So you want to give them the next thing, and we price it accordingly. So for the freebie, obviously there's no price there, okay? For the thing that they're going to pay for, maybe it's a worksheet, for example, or maybe it's a mini workbook or something like that, depending on the urgency, importance, significance, of the shift, the result, the outcome that they're going to get, the transformation. You're probably going to be pricing that for between $9 and $19, okay? So it's called low ticket, and it's a stepping stone. So they're going to get that low ticket thing. They're going to get that fantastic result, that amazing outcome. They're going to come back and then they're going to go, oh, I want the bundle. Okay. And that bundle might have, perhaps it's got a workbook and a custom GPT and phone wallpapers and a personalized email from you. Do you know, like it's got a bunch of things, high value things. You can price that for around $35 to $55. If you wanted to create a premium bundle though, and premium isn't about having more things. Premium is about the effectiveness. So if it was going to be even more effective, if it was going to be even more helpful, right? Maybe it includes a 15-minute call with you. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. But then it's not fully digital, but maybe it includes an extra mindset recording that has been really, really helpful for other people in terms of getting this particular outcome or something like that. But a premium bundle you can sell for $75 to $135. Okay. And then from there, if they really love that and that was super duper helpful, then they're going to come back and the last thing would be maybe a mini course, right? Mini course doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to spend years making it. You don't have to load it up with webinars and things like that if you don't want to. There are many different ways that you can make a mini course. It's less about how much stuff you're providing and more about the usefulness of the stuff you're providing. So yeah, the people that I see who are selling digital products on their website, they don't have a product ladder. And for that reason, they're missing out on a lot of money. They're leaving a lot of money on the table. Also, the people whose stuff I purchased this week, there wasn't any email sequence. There wasn't any invite to book a discovery call. It was just like pretty much download the stuff. And a lot of the stuff wasn't even branded. It didn't include even their website on it. So, I've got documents that I'm looking at on my desk as I'm speaking to you without a logo, without even the person's name or anything. I don't know where it came from. So even if it was helpful and I did like it, I don't know where I got it from. And that means that that person isn't going to get a client now. And then 2, you need to include enough information on the website. So you can sell it on your own website, just connect it to Stripe or PayPal, but you can connect it. I just said it. Put it on your website, call it store, call it resources, call it shop, whatever you want. And then each thing you want to include information about who it's for, right? What type of client is it for? Don't say, oh, this is for women who are in a relation. No, be really specific. This is for women who are who have recently discovered there was infidelity in their relationship and they're currently in a state of shock and anger and confusion and unsure what they're feeling or what they're going to do next and can barely look at their partner, right? I mean, obviously not going to write that, but you know what I mean. That's the level of specificity you want to go into. And then you're going to explain why you made it. I made this because in my work, this pops up a lot and there hasn't been anything that can specifically help you when you're in this situation. And in my experience, I know that coming along and talking to somebody can be great in the moment, but then as soon as you leave the counselling room, life happens and it's back to, I've got to go and do the shopping and then I've got to pick this one up from soccer and drop that one off to netball and who's got dancing on the weekend and, I've got a lunch tomorrow at work and I'm responsible for bringing the party pies and it's all this and you forget about what we've discussed. So it can make it feel like you're unsupported. So I created this for you so that you can make notes when we're together about what's being discussed and so that you can include reflections, reminders, so that in between sessions, you have something practical and tangible here that you can refer to. Print it off. Keep it in the glove box in the car so that when you're at the school and you're waiting for the little ones to come out, you can thumb through it and just reflect, remind yourself, get centered again, get grounded again, right? You can, here's what's going to happen. Once you purchase it, you are going to be taken to the download page and you'll be able to download it immediately, right? So this is what's missing. It's this level of content around who it's for, why you made it, how it's going to help them, right? How are things going to be different for her once she's bought your digital product, okay? And then making sure that that digital product lets her know what's next. So let's say, just using that example there, it was a worksheet. Well, down the bottom of the worksheet, I'm going to say, bring this worksheet back to your next appointment. Or if she's not seeing client, if she's not in therapy yet, I'm going to say, book a discovery call with me and send me a copy of this sheet or send your answers and we can go over it together. And I can give you some more practical guidance around, next steps, what to do, what could be coming up for you, right? Do that and then put the link. Like there's got to be a next step. So those are some of the things. And then the other thing that I can share with you that really helps with selling is images. So make some pictures of the journal or make some pictures of the pages of the journal. You don't have to reveal the content, right? You can blur it out, all those kinds of things. You could put shadows over the top, or you could put objects over the top of specific text that you don't want anybody to see. But a lot of the time with the work that we're doing as practitioners, it's invisible because we're talking about their thoughts, their thinking, what's coming up for them, their emotions. And so it can be very hard to sell. So by creating an image of the worksheet or the outcome that she's going to get from using it, or the workbook, or an image of the bundle, she can now see in her mind's eye what she's going to get. Okay. And you know what? Make sure that you have a couple of designs up your sleeve ready to go, because people buy with their eyes. And maybe you've got a very colorful looking cover, right? My Etsy store is intentionally very vibrant and colorful. But the rationale for me doing that was because I wanted to stand out from everybody doing beige and black with cursive and making it look luxury. Like I'm over that aesthetic. And I wanted people to feel fun and playful and light and feel like, oh, I'm on Etsy and I'm shopping and I'm getting stuff for my practice. I wanted it to feel fun. But that's not going to work for everybody. Right? And it's the same for you with your product. Now, it doesn't mean that the product is useless or the product doesn't work or that nobody wants your product. It's just that somebody didn't resonate with your bright, cheerful, colorful cover. So have a simple, minimal cover up your sleeve so that you can swap it out and see, does that one sell better? Right? If you want another example of this, if you've got Netflix, you've probably seen that, it shows you, oh, there's this movie that over here we think you'll like, or here's what's new in our drama or our true crime or something like that. And the titles stay the same, but they'll show you like a different grab from the movie or the film or the episode. And so they change that all the time. They do that because people buy with their eyes. Right? And they put it on rotation. Now, there's nothing stopping you from doing that too. And that brings me to the last point. The last point is passive income can be 100% passive. It can be. In fact, on Etsy, it really is 100% passive. However, there's a lot of work to set up a digital product that you probably haven't considered, like what we've just spoken about there, like creating multiple product images, creating a really helpful description that inspires somebody to buy it, by having maybe a sales page for it if you've got a bundle or something like that, creating an email sequence to go with each thing that you're selling or giving away, and that email sequence needs to convert, right, so that it goes on to the next step. There's a whole lot of things here that must happen in the setup phase. And then once it's all set up and it's on your website or it's on Thrivecart or Gumroad or wherever you're going to sell it, then for the most part, it's just going to take care of itself. In the early days, again, everything happens in 90-day cycles. So in the early days, you do want to go in and check your Stripe account, see the sales, see what people are clicking on, see what they're looking at, if you have access to that information, depending on your platform or your Google Analytics and da-da-da-da-da. But have a look, because if people are seeing it but they're not buying, it could be the cover. So change that. It could be the title. So that's very important, actually, the title. Sometimes it's very tempting to write a title that feels so good on your heart to write. So you might want to say something like, nourishing your soul on your healing journey. But the thing is that a title needs to mean something to a client, and it needs to be something that will allow a search engine to show it to somebody, will allow a search engine to find it. So not many clients are going to be typing things like nourishing my soul on my healing journey. They're probably going to be typing how do I not shout at the dog when I'm having a bad day, right? So make sure that your title is using phrases and words, and they're called keywords, that your clients are using. And all you have to do is pay attention when your clients are talking to you in therapy. Just pay attention. What are the words that they're using? What's the language that they're using? What's the outcome that they're wanting? What's the struggle they're expressing? Okay. And use that to create a title, right? Things that work really, really well are simple. And of course, we don't want to be promising the world to people. We don't want to say overcome your anxiety in 30 minutes. We don't want to do anything like that. But we do want to let them know the result of using the free tool or the bundle or doing the mini course or something like that. So I'd always recommend giving whatever you're selling a title that's based on the result. Okay. And then if you wanted to say nourishing your soul on your healing journey, do it as a subtitle or a subheading or something like that. But lead with the thing that's going to make the most sense to your clients. So for me, if I did something like, I'm just thinking, I want to give you a good example. I might say something on mine like, get your next client in 5 days without needing another plan or more steps. I think that would probably sell better than if I said how to get clients or grow your practice or something like that, how to market your practice. Do you hear the difference? Like, these ones convert really poorly. Will the guide or the book or the resource, the digital product, show them how to get clients and market their practice and grow their practice and things like that? Absolutely it will. But these titles convert really poorly because they're quite generic. Doesn't say who it's for, doesn't speak about the result. It sounds more like advice, maybe not an actual tool that's practical. So things like the 30-day client attraction plan for therapists in private practice would work a lot better. Or how to set up your very simple referral system for your private practice, right? That works better. That's what I'm saying. So when it comes to naming the digital product for your passive income, there are a couple of different ways that you can do it, a couple of different formulas that I was able to recognize when I was having a look at all of mine, because I was thinking, this is interesting. What's the difference between the titles of the ones that were selling for me versus the ones that weren't? And a few different combinations came up, and the first one was speaking to my audience, including the problem and the outcome in the title. So that was one structure. Another structure was when I was speaking about the mechanism and the audience and the result. And then the third way was where I was including a number. So it could be, months, days, time, minutes, whatever. But I had a number, the type of resource that it was, whether it was a guide, audio, thing like that, and the benefit that they were going to get as a result. So examples of that worked really well was I had 15 scripts that turn your inquiries into bookings in your private practice. That went really well. And you can hear there it was because it had the number, it said scripts, which was the resource type or the deliverable. Turn inquiries into bookings. That was the result, right? A 30-day plan to get more, your 30-day plan to get more therapy clients in your private practice was another one that did really well. Same thing. You can hear it's 30. We've got the number in there that they're getting a plan. That's the thing. And that the plan's going to get them this result, right? Or help them to get that other result. And then another one was, what did I have? The private practice client attraction workbook. So they're hearing it's a workbook. They know it's for them because they're in private practice. They know it's going to be helping them to attract clients. So that one did really well too. The other reason that titles like that work super well is because they're more clear. they're more searchable, and they're also more persuasive in a way, because they're letting somebody know exactly what it's about, rather than sort of a quite broad or generic or even an abstract, quite flowery title. Okay. So yeah, I think keep the title really short. We don't want anything too long. Keep it kind of short. And if you really want to have a subheading or a subtitle in there, add it onto the cover or add it into the description. So there's some of the ways. And then lastly, when it comes to selling the digital products, it's not really enough to leave it on the website. Okay, because again, we're only getting a certain type of client. That client who visits the website is usually already somebody who is problem aware, number one, and solution aware, number two. Okay, which means we're missing out again all these other clients, and that's why you have to drive traffic to the product that you're selling. And there are really easy ways that you could do that. You could let people know in their welcome email that you've got a shop and here's the link and they can go to the store. You could send an email once a quarter with a little sale. You could run a sale if you're, hosting it on Gumroad or something like that. You could give people a coupon. You could mention it in your Google business profile when you're doing your posts. You might include an image of something. You might talk about what it does and how it helps, and let them know that if they go and visit your website, they can get a coupon or, get it for a special price or something like that. Like, there are lots of different ways that you can get it in front of people, but you have to get it in front of people. And that's the active part of the marketing. And I have myself so much evidence of when I'm doing that and I'm being active and I'm getting it in front of people, I make so many more sales than when I am not. For example, I think I've said it maybe the last couple of episodes, right? That I haven't updated, or not updated, but I haven't added new things to my Etsy store for a little while. I tend to do it when I'm in the mood, and when I'm in the mood, I end up making a whole bunch of things, and then I can batch them, and then I just schedule them to publish sort of one day after another, or maybe one every 2 days. And so what that does is that triggers the Etsy algorithm to say Brooklyn's got new stuff in her shop and It pushes my shop out to more people. But I also help the algorithm along by sharing to my stories on my social media. I think I said to you last time, like, I haven't updated my own website or my own Psychology Today profile or my own Google business. But when I do all of that, then I want to put it there as well and send an email and talk about it on the podcast and So I know that when I'm doing those things, boom, it's like sale. I keep getting all these notices saying Etsy seller notification, you just made another $67. And it's great, especially if I'm out at a market, because then I feel like, well, now I can go and get that nice, crystal point, or I can go and get that book, or I can go and get those coffee cups handmade by that lady over there that I was eyeing off before. Like it's fun. It's so much fun. But I know when I haven't been actively putting things on and letting people know that I've put things on, the sales still come, but they're much slower, right? There might be a couple of weeks where I don't make a sale, and then I might make 2 or 3 sales the next week, right? But if I'm constantly pushing stuff out and letting people know that it's there and it's available and I make sales daily, right? So you have to understand that it can be passive, yes, but you want to have a way that works for you of maybe automating, getting it in front of people. And as I said, really easy ways of that. Let people know in the welcome pack that, now that they're a client, they're automatically going to get a 17% discount on your stuff or whatever, and they can go to the website and get it. Let them know in email confirmations that you've got a shop. Let them know on the bottom of your footer in your invoices, right? I mean, we could go on and on and on. I love a good brainstorm. It's part of the neurodivergence, but I'm sure you can come up with your own ideas. It doesn't have to be hard. You can set these things up and then forget about them. And the message is coming to the client loud and clear every time they get that confirmation email, when they book an appointment, every time they get their receipt or their invoice, they're seeing it again, they're seeing it again, they're seeing it again. And people need to see things roughly 50 times in 90 days, okay, to take action, right? So by including it in things like that are already automated, this is how we take things over into being more passive for you, okay? So anyway, I hope that this was super duper helpful and you've got some ideas there on, you've got some shortcuts, let's say, from listening to my lessons. You know now what to do. You know how to do it. It's just a matter of going and doing it now. It's going to be so much fun for you. I'm really excited for you to do that. In terms of me and what's happening with my business, as I just said a moment ago, like it's all kind of state of flux at the moment because I'm manifesting a couple of things. So I'm manifesting, I've finished talking about the passive income. If you want to kick on for a minute and hear about the manifesting, you're welcome to stay. But I've finished talking about passive income. So if that's you and you're done for today, amazing. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you on the Wednesday edition. Okay, thank you so much for being here. But everybody else, yeah. So I got the house, right? Manifested the house. And then I said to you the episode before last that I wasn't going to stop there, that you have to, I believe, you want to keep manifesting, build the manifesting muscle. And so I've decided that I'm just paying off the house in 12 months. And I told you that that mortgage is $374,000. So, when I first decided that I was going to do it, I did have a minor conniption and a minor heart attack thinking, how on earth am I going to do this on top of, because it's extra money, right? It's not suddenly I'm going from making this much to making this much. It's like, I want this 374 on top of what I've already got. And then I realized, well, it's probably going to have to be another 100 or so on top of that because of tax. So yeah, it would feel like a big ask, but old me would have said, that's a huge ask, not going to happen, that's impossible. Current me is like, well, you've decided that we're doing it, so we're just going to do it, right? We're just going to get on with it. And so what I found myself doing during the week was I've already taken action and a couple of things have happened. Okay, so the first thing that happened was I decided that I was going to look into the redraw account and what does it mean and how can I use it and stuff like that. So I have gone and put money into the redraw account. So I've put, I think, $50,000 into the redraw account. It was like a scary thing to do. It feels like a lot of money, but I did it. I think I did it like 7,000 a day or something like that because I was like so nervous about putting it in. I don't know why, but I was. And anyway, so that has, like, I know variations happen, blah, 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 but it has saved me between $82,000 and $95,000 over the lifetime of the mortgage. And it saved me between 7 and 9 years on the repayment, which is a lot considering mortgages are 30 years. So I've cut a third of the time off the mortgage, and that feels so liberating and just feels so good. And now, like, I want to do it more. So there's that. The other thing that I did, so the first thing was like, look at what was in my circle of control right now. And that was, okay, am I making the best use of the money? So I've gone and put that over there. Again, feels good to have done that. The other thing that I haven't done yet that I will do, oh no, I did this bit. I calculated annual costs for the house, you know, things like the rates and the electricity and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I did all of that. And then I set up scheduled payments so that that's all just taken care of. So I don't have to worry about the money. Do you even hear my language? Like, it's interesting, isn't it? I just said it's all on auto, so I don't have to worry about it. And then I said it's all taken care of. I mean, that's what I've been manifesting. And here I am already embodying the identity of it. I know, it's so cool how this stuff works. So anyway, that's going to take some, I guess, pressure off, because I'm not going to have to be worrying about it all the time. It's just going to be getting done. That feels really, really good. The thing I haven't done yet that I intend to do is I want to print off all my statements from my personal money, so not work, but personal. And I just want to go and categorize like where it was all going over the last 12 months. Because I do this for work, but I don't do it for the personal. So I just want to see, like, are there any opportunities there for growth, or is there anything that could be cut, right? So anyway, I'll go and do that and have a little bit of a look at that and see if there's anything there. It's not going to make a huge difference to being able to pay off the mortgage, but in terms of, I guess, just whack the microphone, in terms of like paying it down. However, I think energetically it puts me in a position of being in charge of the finances rather than feeling like the finances are in charge of me and what I can and can't do. And that is the gold, right? That's what I want. So that's the reason that I'm doing it, and that's the benefit that I'll get. So I'm going to do that. Yes, I will go and have a more deep dive of an analysis of the business finances, but by and large, I have really good profit margins on the business like you guys do. I mean, it costs us not very much to run our practices. I mean, if I have a look at mine, I don't have my phone in front of me, but I think mine runs at like 90% profit. It's ridiculous. I'm very, very lucky. But you might recall from previous episodes that when was it? Maybe it was about 3 years ago, wasn't it? I was doing that activity for myself around money and money mindset and everything. And I was looking at all of my expenses. And that's when I added up what I was paying for my accountant, for the BAS, for the GST, for that preparation of all of those things, blah, blah, blah. And I had Xero, and I had Zoom subscriptions, and I had Outlook with Microsoft subscriptions. And when I added them all up, it came to nearly $11,000. And like, do you remember that? And I was like mortified. I thought, how can it be costing me $11,000? Like, I'm working from home doing telehealth. How is this costing me $11,000? And then I went and moved everything over to Google Workspace, and now it's like $25 a month or something. It's like crazy. And I moved all the money stuff over to Henry, which is just like 1% of every time you get paid. Oh, it's a thing. But anyway, it's like 1%. It's nothing. Would you notice 1 cent out of $1 gone? No. So I don't notice the Henry fees. And even then, you can earn as much as you want. Like, you could earn $27 million if you wanted to, and it's capped. So I think when I joined, the fees were capped at, I think, $1,200 for the year if you hit the $1,200. And if you earned over that, you didn't pay any extra for them doing your stuff. But I think more recently, one of my clients signed up to Henry, and I think now the cap is $1,500 a year. So anyway, whatever it is, I mean, I could be totally making that up. But the point is that it was when I did that deep dive into my finances that I went from, 11,000 going out to, what's 1,200 plus, I don't know, 25 times 12, $3,000, I think. So yeah, I took it from 11,000 down to 4 or 5. It was huge. So I will go and have a look at that. Again, I don't think it's going to make any massive difference to my ability to pay off the mortgage financially, but it will put me in the energetic space of the version of me who just easily and effortlessly paid it off in 12 months without really giving it too much of a thought, right? That version of her, she was on top. She knew what was going on with the money right down to the last cent. And yeah, I do, but I would just want to be more across it. So there's that. And then I think too, as I was saying, it involves me being able to do what's within my control, and those things are. The other thing is I need to be open, right? And so I have to be open to doing things and getting support for achieving this, for manifesting this. And one of the ways that I do that is some people might call it self-care, but I don't. Like, I think that this is just such important work. But I have I don't know what her title is, and this is so embarrassing because I've seen her twice now and I absolutely love her and I love working with her, and it's so, so, so effective. She does kinesiology, but she also does Akura or Aruka Health. Her practice name is Symmetry Health. Wait, let me go and just find it, because if you're interested in seeing her, you'll want the real details. Let me just see. Her name's Kelly. Health Symmetry. Where is she? Okay, the business is called Symmetry Health Kinesiology. So that's her. She's amazing. So I went and saw her because I believe in energy, and I also believe that we can only work with what's in the scope of our awareness. Okay, this is why things like therapy and coaching and stuff like that are so helpful, because you've got somebody on the outside who can see our stuff when we're in it, right? We don't see the forest for all of the trees. So it's the same, I think, with me and the things that I'm wanting to call in. Sometimes I might not know if there's a block, if there's a pattern, if there's something, but my body knows and my energy knows. And so anyway, I connected with Kelly and I had a meeting with her, and I was like, she's like, oh, what's the goal? And I said that I wanted to sort out some trauma, because at that stage, it was like, 3 weeks ago, I think. Yep, 3-ish weeks ago. I was still in the throes of all the drama of, how can this person not pay me back? So I was still all in that. And I was very aware that was going to get in the way of me doing what I wanted with the business and with my life and stuff like that. So anyway, it was around that, and it was around the trauma, I spent time with her. She was very, very helpful. We did the kinesiology. We also did Aruka therapy, and she listened and she was so helpful. And it was so interesting too, because kinesiology gets me every time. Does it get you every time as well? Like the whole muscle testing thing? I don't even know how it happens, I mentioned it to you before, so I won't go over it again, but yeah, just how you can resist against the pressure, and then they just do something, then all of a sudden, arms collapse. It's like, how? That, for me, that's the proof right there that it works. So anyway, I saw her and she said to me when I was leaving, oh, and then by the way, some of my clients say that they can experience some symptoms afterwards, blah, blah, blah. You may, and maybe I mentioned this to you as well before, I can't remember. And I listened, I took it on board, but I didn't really think anything of it. And when I was wrapping up with her, she was talking to me about my hara center, and, lower belly, lower abdomen type thing and stuff like that. And anyway, would you believe, I came home and I felt quite tired, because the energy work it's draining, right? You're talking about big things, you're resolving big things, you're healing big things, there's tears, there's all the stuff. So I was pretty washed out when I got home. And then that night I wasn't well, and I just had the runs, that's all. I didn't want you to think it was something serious. It wasn't. And this happened for the next 3 nights. And I was like, what on earth is going on? I rarely get sick. I rarely get unwell. So I'm thinking it was just stuff getting shifted, because that's where you hold your power, right? Down there in your belly. And so, yeah. And then I noticed too that since I worked with her and I was doing all of this other stuff, there was an absence of the anxiety, an absence of the fear. I was starting to feel more grounded. I was starting to feel more relaxed. There was less chaotic activity, let's just say, with my mind, but also with like my general like flitting from task to task, tab to tab, on the computer I'm talking about, things like that. I wasn't moving so quickly in the house or around my neighborhood. I was just like chilling pretty much. And that's not like me. So anyway, and I went and saw her again this week. And it was so good because I said to her, look, I've got this thing. I've just decided that I'm just going to pay off the house. And it was great because she's on board with it too. And she's like, okay, let's clear whatever needs to be cleared and stuff like that. And it was so interesting, like just getting the kinesiology done. I swear, if you haven't had it, you've got to experience it. I fully believe you have to go and experience it. I mean, if you couldn't be like converted, so to speak, I don't know what it would take, but it fascinates me no end. But anyway, so we did a lot of kinesiology, and it was really interesting because she was able to connect and get messages and things like this from my higher self. And one of the things my higher self was saying was, you can pretty much be, do, or have the things that you want. Like nothing's off limits. If you can dream this thing you want, then you can absolutely have it and just go for it. And then one of the other things that came through was just be guided by your intuition and your inner knowing. And if something's feeling good and happy and it's lighting you up, that's the sign. Do more of that. Leave the other stuff for now. And so it was great because this is all the stuff I already think, feel, and believe and share with a lot of my clients, but it was nice to receive it, okay? And then there was like other stuff that came up as well. But I'm just so excited because now I feel like, she was able to pick up on some blocks, and then at the end, those blocks were then shifted, open, ready. And I mean, even like just, I don't know, you know how sometimes you can make things happen because it's in your mind? Well, you can do that all the time, right? But I think whether this has legit happened on an energetic level, or maybe it's just my mindset is now choosing to believe I'm free of any obstruction to me being able to achieve this goal. Now I just feel like it's going to be like just a cakewalk. Like I'm not even stressed about it. I'm already feeling really, really good about it. And so again, about embodying that identity of the version of me that's done it already and choosing to act from that place, acting with the end in mind, but not only that, acting from the end. And so I want to, I'm sitting down for the last 2 or 3 days, I've been thinking about my business. And it occurred to me that my business is shifting and it's going to expand. And it feels like the most natural thing for me to do. This is going to require eventually a rewrite of the website and Psychology Today and Google Business. And yes, it's going to require all of that. But there were lessons along the way that I've already been able to leverage. For example, I have been really, 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 really loving reconnecting with manifesting and, in spiritual terms, it's referred to as like collapsing time. But I guess if you're a psychologist, a social worker or a counselor, you might just say, well, you're using techniques to do that, to clear obstacles, to clear mindset issues, to clear blocks that you might be having. And it's that makes being able to attain the goal quicker. But yeah, just over in the spiritual world, it's just called collapsing time, right? Same thing, just different jargon basically. But one of the things that I realized was I'm really loving that. And I thought I want to be doing more of that. And then I was getting a book for a client, and this book popped up on the Amazon list of, well, other people who got this one also got that one over here. And I told you about it last time, so I won't tell you about it again. But I went and had a look, right? And anyway, I'm not sure, did I tell you I got the book? So I bought her book, and And I was so excited to read it, right? And as soon as I got it and ripped it out of the packaging and everything, I quickly went and hid it from myself. I put it in the bathroom because I wanted to read it in the bath because it felt special. I wanted to have my dim light on and just enjoy the process of reading this book. And I was like so looking forward to it, and took my dark chocolate in there and, my highlighters. And I was like so excited because I feel like I'm across the whole manifesting thing. But I also want to know, hey, has somebody come up with a new way, or is there a new insight, or is there new research on this now, and right? So I'm like so excited to dive in. And then when I read it, I was just like, it was a big anticlimax because it was very generic, right? And it was such a disappointment that I ended up like at the start, I was like eagerly reading the introduction or the preface or the prologue, whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, just get through it. And the good bit's going to come on the first chapter. And it was just so basic, and it was so, and I just felt like, okay, maybe she's just like introducing concepts and things like that. Maybe the second chapter will be better, or maybe the third one will be better. And the further I got into it, the more quickly I was just thumbing through it because it was just a waste of time for me. And that's from someone who was coming at it from a space of being open and wanting to learn and really wanting this to be a great book and really, being a cheerleader for this book in terms of wanting it to be awesome. But it wasn't. It was very much an anticlimax. And I remembered I just kind of discarded the book, and I was in the bath and I was like, okay. And then I just thought to myself, it was a waste of $40. But then my higher self said, no. We're going to anchor into things happening for us, right? So how do you think this happened for you? I was like, I don't know how this has happened for me, but, show me the way kind of thing. So I was just like, I'm going to be open to how this is happening for me. And then anyway, what ended up happening was the next day, I was just having breakfast with Buddy and we're watching TV, having our cheesy omelets, and it was lovely. And I started to think about this book again, and I thought, okay, this book was a New York Times best-selling book, right? And I thought, that's very interesting considering it was so surface level and so broad and so kind of, generic. I thought that's very interesting. How on earth did this get to be a New York Times best-selling book? And then that got me more interested. So then I thought, I want to find out more about this person. So, because again, I hadn't heard of her, and as I said, I feel like I'm pretty across the manifesting community, like the who's who. And so then I just started poking around on social media, as you do. And I went to YouTube, that's right, because I thought, she's probably got a YouTube channel, and maybe the stuff on her YouTube channel is better, because I believe that when you're recording stuff, like for me it's a podcast, but maybe for other people it could be a YouTube channel. But I think when you've got something that's unscripted and you're just kind of going and you're speaking the things and you're off on tangents and I think that's where the juice is, and I think that's where the gold is. Whereas if you've got a book, it's heavily edited, right? So I thought maybe there'll be some videos and she's talking about some of this stuff and she goes into it a little bit more details, a little bit more specific, and I was super excited and couldn't find a YouTube channel. Interesting. And then I thought, what's going on over here? And I could see there were clips, and she was featured on somebody else's podcast, and they had clipped the podcast into shorts or something. And I was having a look at that, and I could see that even with that, the views were less than 400. And I thought, that's really interesting. How can you have a New York Times best-selling author get, so few views when she's been interviewed on other people's podcasts? And then I thought, well, let's go over to Facebook, and I found the Facebook page, and it had, less than 5 posts on it and no engagement. Thought that's interesting. And then well, no engagement, like no likes or hearts. I think there were a couple of comments. But then I went on to Instagram, pretty much the same thing. She had like, I don't know, 14,500 K followers, 487 Instagram posts. But again, like pretty much no engagement, no interaction. Now, in saying that, I also know that the number of likes and hearts and comments you get is vanity metrics and has nothing at all to do with how many clients you get from your socials. People think that it does, but it doesn't, right? I know myself that even in my Facebook communities, right, there are lots of people that end up working with me that have never once commented on anything or liked anything or hearted anything, right? So I knew not to pay that too much attention, but I thought that it was still interesting nonetheless. And then that got me, I guess, to a point where I was feeling now really confused. And I thought, well, how did she do it? She's got this resource that she's made over here that's pretty general. She doesn't have a social media following, really, to speak of. She isn't really on multiple platforms. I mean, she doesn't have a YouTube channel. She has a Facebook page, but hasn't posted on it for years. And, you know, she's not really active on Instagram. I think her Instagram, the last post she did was two or 3 years ago. So I'm thinking, okay, you can be a New York Times bestseller with generic material, without an audience, without a social media presence, without a Google business profile. She didn't have one of those. And I was thinking, so how on earth is she attracting clients like Cindy Crawford and you know, if I go to her website, like there's testimonials there from other like important people, famous people, stuff like this. Like how? And anyway, I went back over to the website and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to figure this out because this is really interesting and it's really helpful to know, because I think a lot of the time we believe or we think that we've got to have all this social media content out there. She's proof you don't. And I also agree you don't, but I think it absolutely helps. She's not running ads to her stuff either. Like, yeah, so how is she doing it? And so anyway, I'm having a look around on the website and I see that she graduated from an Ivy League university with a qualification in business. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why, you know, maybe that's it. Okay, well, now I understand. But then my higher self was saying, well, hang on. In Australia, we don't have Ivy League universities, but when you did your PhD in psych, Monash University was the leading university in Australia for psychology. So, hello, like, what's to say that's worth less than what this other person did? And why are you comparing yourself to a total stranger? So that was a helpful insight that I was very, very thankful for. And then 1 second, I just got to let Buddy out. Okay, I'm back. And anyway, so then I realized, oh, she's done it through connections. She knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. Like, this is how it's happened. It must be like through a girlfriend of mine I was talking to about this the other day. She was like, yeah, like the alumni. And I thought, well, I'm in the alumni as well, but I never use it. However, I am in a community that I felt called to join about 3 months ago that I also haven't used. And guess what? This community is one that Jay Shetty was in, Mel Robbins was in it, I was approached and asked would I like to be in it. I've said, you know, I don't know, because you got to pay to be in it. And I don't like the whole idea of that. But anyway, especially when you get approached, it felt like no, I'm not. But then when I researched it and I found out this other stuff, then I thought, well, if it was good enough for them, like, and it's good enough for the guys from Mind Valley to be in it and all of this, and they weren't the only ones, they're just the ones that come to my mind now, then I thought maybe this is a really amazing opportunity for me and I should absolutely do it. So I agreed and I signed the contract and so now I'm part of this community, but I'm not active in it. I haven't done any of the things I said that I would do. Like, for example, they want to, this is so crazy. They want to set you up as an expert, right? They want to have you be seen as an expert. Like, just hearing myself say this out loud, it's all falling together now, but I didn't see it at the time, right? But I see it now. The point of this community is they raise your profile internationally so that you're seen as an expert in the work that you do and the contributions that you make and things like that. And so part of the things that you need to do or that you agree to do is, of course, make it easy for them to do it by providing them with things like your bios, your CV, your headshots, your, writing some papers, like all of this. And I've done none of it. And I just made my third payment this week. So there you go. I do have access to a community of people that want to raise me up, that have a track record of raising other people up, and I've just done nothing with it. So I think that was, like, if I do a quick reflection, I think maybe seeing that book on the Amazon recommendation thing, it was like the first domino that sort of had to knock over the next one and the next one and the next one to get me back to here. So this is all making so much sense to me now. And I'm also excited to think, okay, what's the business going to look like? So I definitely do want to continue working with women in private practice and helping them with their businesses. Yes, absolutely. And I will continue to be available for that. However, it's not going to be my main source of business anymore, because moving forward, the business is going to be working with people who have already reached a level of success, either in their personal life or with their work or something else. They're already successful in their own right, and they're wanting more growth or insight or understanding or awareness or expansion or whatever it is that may be coming up for them. And they're wanting somebody to, help them with that. And they're not wanting, they're not going to be asking for plans and steps and strategies and things. They're more needing a space to bounce things around, but also they're very, very open to hearing new insights, new ways of doing things, new approaches, all of that. And so I just feel so, so, so excited by that. And so that's where this business is going to be moving to. And it feels so good. I feel very relaxed. I feel calm. I feel grounded. I feel happy. I feel joyful. It's just like the best feeling. And they're just like ideal clients for me. And I'm so, 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 so excited. And they're going to come from all different walks of life. So for the last 10 years, I've been mostly working with women in private practice, right? Psychs, counselors, and social workers, as you know. However, now I feel like that's great. But now I want to work with lots of people from lots of different backgrounds, right? Maybe they're an artist, or maybe they're a musician, or maybe they are an accountant, or maybe they've got a big business over there, or maybe they've got a farm. Like, I don't know. I'm open and I'm excited. And everybody is everybody, right? We're all just people. And we've all got different things going on that we need some support with. And because my business is like getting pretty long in the tooth now, right? Since 1995, so we're at year 31. I've got the history behind me. I've got results behind me. I've got the credibility behind me. I've got all of that. I am well positioned to be able to do this now. And all the planets are aligning. And I just feel so, 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 so excited. So, yes, I do need to go and update the website. And so at the moment, the website is all geared to women in private practice and it's all private practice heavy, but that's going to change. And yes, I will still be absolutely working with them, but it's not going to be the sole focus of what I'm doing. What's going to become the sole focus of what I'm doing is what I talked to you about and re-niching into my philosophy and re-niching into what I believe to be true, my take on things based on my scientific background with the PhD in psychology and all the lead up degrees to that, and my practice wisdom. So, and of course, like I didn't travel the world and live in all of these different countries over that 5-year period for nothing. I was out there talking to spiritual people, as you've already heard in previous episodes. And this is stuff that I do myself. And I have my own experiences with things like manifesting and shifting things and, achieving things quite quickly. Okay. I've got all of that. Like I'm good to go. I guess now's the time, because before I just never thought that not that I could, like I always believe you can do whatever you want to do if you put yourself in the right conditions and things like that, like with your mindset and your resources and things. Like I absolutely believe that you can do and be and have whatever you want, whatever's on your heart. I also believe you're never locked into things. I think you can always change, and so many of us do. We change our niches, or we change our preferred modality, or we change our client demographic, or we change our fees or whatever. Like we can absolutely do that. You're never locked into anything. That's the beauty of working for yourself, right? So I guess it was just my focus before was more on helping the women who needed help with setting up their businesses and getting them going, right? Getting them to profit. And I still love to do that. But now I feel like I want to do that, but through this lens. And maybe, do you remember at Christmas, like I created the first framework to support women in business with their identity and stuff like that. So I feel like maybe even as I was going to say recently, 6 months ago, as back then when that was all happening, that was probably me planting seeds again without realizing it, and all that identity stuff has been happening over the last few months, and it's infused into all of my coaching now. And now here we are with me talking about identity again myself, and again living through shared examples of what it looks like in a practical sense outside of business in my real life too. So I want to say I feel very excited, but it's not that I feel like this big rush of energy about it. It's more like I feel like this is exactly where I need to be. And for now, this is exactly where I need to be. I'm just so excited. I'm so ready, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. So that's that. But I also know that if I'm going to start working with different clients and I'm going to start working in a way that I've always wanted to work, and do more of that, I know too I'm also going to need to create a new offer, a new way of working with me for these people over here. And I don't know yet what that's going to look like. I'm not in a rush to figure it out. I think what I want to do first is sit down, and I want to journal, channel, get the guidance, unpack, explore, see what comes through, let it sort of percolate for a little bit, see if there's anything else that's inspired, because again, you only know what's in your scope, don't you? You can't see some of this other stuff, and that's why sometimes sitting with it for a little while can be super duper helpful. And I will be asking myself reflective questions and see if I can pull anything else forward that is wanting to be seen and acknowledged and heard and witnessed and all those kinds of things as well. And yeah, who knows where this business is going to be in another 12 months or 6 months or even 3 months, and how that's all going to juxtaposition with life and this goal of the mortgage. And it's interesting as well because one of my friends said to me during the week, she goes, this goal that you've got is not about the mortgage. The mortgage is like the thing that's pulling you in this direction. She said, this is more about you coming back to what you wanted to do all those years ago, but you got sidetracked and you took a side step and you put all your focus onto helping the women with their businesses. So before I started doing this, what happened was it was 2015 and all the changes were coming through in the world of psychology, and it was all very, it was a political mess. It still is a political mess, I believe. Certainly from what I see and hear with my clients, just a mess. And I realized when all that was going on, I wanted to do something about it. And so I did get very, very, very involved with a national campaign to try and fix it, sort it out. But the horse had already bolted. And then I just felt so sick that a profession could do this to its members, right? And I knew then I couldn't continue to be a psychologist anymore, so I was out. And around that time, that's when I came back to doing all of those things that used to give me comfort in the past, the oracle cards, a tarot card, journaling, things like that. And that's when I came across manifesting for the first time. And it just clicked with me because I could see so many parallels with sociology and psychology. And so because of that, how it's always easy to learn something when you already have kind of a bit of a frame of reference to connect it to. So I could already see the parallels. And so then I was like, okay, this is going to be my thing. This is my jam. And I was so excited about it. And this podcast started being called Manifest Change. It was called the Manifest Change podcast. And what ended up happening was I was going merrily along that way, and then some beautiful souls who were psychologists and also social workers started tapping me on the shoulder and hey, you left the profession, we want to leave ours too, can you show us how to do it? And because there was a need for that, and because I was being asked, I wanted to help, of course I'm going to help. So then I went and got qualifications in coaching and this and that and da. And so that's how the deviation happened. And I'm so pleased that it did. It's given me so many years of being able to help people and continue to help them. However, when my friend was reflecting to me the other day, she was like, no, the mortgage is just the thing that the universe is using to get you back over into the work that you wanted to do all those years ago, but you just kind of got sidetracked. That's all it is. This is not about you paying off the mortgage. So yeah, maybe she's right. Who knows? Who knows? But I think that, in order to be able to do anything, whether it's your business or your life, and it feels big and new and different and all those kinds of things, you absolutely need to do the embodiment work around your identity. And so, that's what I'm in the process of doing now. You're hearing it in real time as it's all happening. Who knows where it's going to end up? I'm just so excited. Imagine what we're going to be talking about 12 months from now. We'll be reflecting on, did it happen? Did it not happen? Why did it happen? Did it not happen? All of that. And I'm excited for you to be able to hear about it, because this is the other thing. I don't think many people talk about this stuff. I think lots of people just talk about what's working and they want to sell a solution and all of this, but they don't tell you about all the, the millions of other things they had to do first until they found the thing that worked. Like when I was talking to you about passive income before, I was saying like with your freebies, like the reason I have literally 47 freebies is because I kept making them so that they would build my email list. And I saw over time there was one here that would be really popular. So then I would unpublish the others and then I would try and make some more. And, of those 47 at different points in my career, 2 or 3 of those have gone like hotcakes, but the others have gone quiet. So you have to have multiples of things, right? And I forget how I got onto this. It doesn't matter. I've spoken enough. I don't want to do another 2-hour, 44-minute podcast for you. You've got better things to do. But anyway, I just wanted to share. That's where I'm at. So yes. I'll still be practice momentum and I'll still be helping you. But I'm just letting you know what else is going on for me. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying about people only sharing their best stuff. Yeah, if I only shared with you my best stuff, no wonder you would have imposter syndrome, because you would be thinking, oh, well, Brooklyn just did this one thing and it worked for her and I've tried it and it hasn't worked for me. That's why I think it's so important that I say, well, no, like I figured it out in the end, but I had to do it 46 times first, right? And I think that's very, very, very important for you to hear so that you are clear on the expectations you have for yourself, right? And for others. I don't want any of you to have imposter syndrome or doubt yourselves or doubt your ability or doubt your capability or question a strategy or a process. Have clear expectations. And I really believe the easiest way for you to have them is if someone lets you know exactly what it's like behind the scenes. And so I've always done it and I'll continue to do it. I want you to be super duper successful, but at the same time, under no misapprehension that you do it once and it's just going to work, because it's not, even for me. And 2, the things that you try now may not work now, but you could try them again 12 months from now or 24 months from now. And guess what? They might just really take off. It could just be your audience isn't there yet. It could be you're a bit too far ahead yet. And they just need a bit of time to catch up. Like, never throw anything out. It's always just a matter of, okay, this is just data. The data is telling me this is not what they want or need right now. Fine, I can come back to it later on. What do they want or need right now? How can I find that out without using AI? Okay. Just on that, I did a workshop during the week over in the Therapist Resource Hub on using AI to create your carousels for Instagram or your socials and stuff like that. So if you're in the Therapist Resource Hub, you can go and learn how to use Claude with Canva to do that. I'm also making you a special tool. I'm just refining it at the moment, and then I'll share that with you as well. So you've already got access to that. If you would like to have access to that, you're most welcome to come along. The membership, you can join on a 7-day free trial. Have a go, have a bit of play around, connect with other practitioners who are in there, all learning how to use AI the right way for their practice. And also you can cancel anytime, of course. So anyway, I'll let you go. I hope that you have a really, 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 really good Sunday. I'm still sort of pottering around here. This morning I just bought wallpaper. So apparently it's going to arrive in 2 weeks. So it's just slow going here, but it's a great pace for me. I'm noticing there's like less of the frantic chaos and I am loving it. All right, my lovelies, have a beautiful weekend. Thank you so much for being part of my world. If you make a digital product, amazing, congratulations. Get it out there so that people can find it and buy it and use it. Don't forget to promote it. I'm also happy to share it to my email list, which I've done nothing really with in terms of growing over the last 12 or 18 months. I think it hovers around 4,100 or something, but I've got a 46% open rate on a good day. So not on a good day, what is it that? Most days, it's a 46% open rate. And then I resend to non-openers and usually get another 24%, 25%. So it can give you good exposure. So if you have something and you followed the guidance in this episode, it would be my pleasure. But please, if you haven't and you're just going to say, look, I've got this thing, and I go and see it and it's a freaking template and with bad formatting and there's no this, no that, I'm not going to be promoting it. But yeah, if you do the things, happy to support you and promote it and get you some money and some clients and some leads and some inquiries, if that will be helpful. All right, let you go. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.